there is a it's a question that has been boiling in my mind, uh, and it is the disparity between real side experiences and their outer physical manifestations uh, in the here and now. I don't know what can be done to bridge the gap between real side experiences, which look to be immediate, and they are hard to attain physical manifestation, because many times um, you find that what is revealed on the real side, on the real side of life, uh, becomes very difficult uh, to replicate here. So I don't know whether it is good to base our our physical activities on real side experiences, because there are so many barriers to attaining them, and uh, society as we find it, we are not in control of it, and there are many variables to consider, and then and many actors in order for some things to actually manifest here. So I begin to wonder whether uh, it is good, or it's appropriate to base our expectations uh, or our results on the real side experiences, especially in this kind of corrupt world. So I don't know, this discrepancy is something that bothers me particularly, and I'm sure it also bothers many others. So what do you say about it, Glenn?
That's very good, Charles. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. And yeah, it bothers me too. Okay, so that's the personal side. Okay, we have that personal side. Okay, there's the real us, our real awareness. Okay, that free being of real light. And then there's the personal side in creation. So even if you've got to draw this on a piece of paper sometimes and draw it out objectively, we're going to start there. We're going to start at first grade here. And that's very good because people need to know this over and over and over again. And so you just, you draw the little sun and you're the sun. That's the real you. It's an isness. Okay, that's just the isness that life is, that you is. You are just that isness. Okay, that's it. Just like the sun, just like the air that you breathe. It's an isness. But with that isness is recognition. All right. And then so also on the piece of paper, or you get another one, you draw the five bodies, which is the personal self, which you've created to have experience in creation. In other words, something that you can create because you're in this isness and there's no creation there. You don't need to create anything. Just like the sun when you see it in the sky. It doesn't create anything, okay? It emanates light, okay? And there is, because we're in creation and cause and effect, we experience heat. But that's in creation, okay? But realistically, it just is. When you just look at it up there, when there's no heat, no reaction, no nothing, it's like the isness, all right? So that's an objective view. That is you. You're like the sun shining. That's the isness. Life is. That's it. There's no creation. But there is recognition, you see? There is recognition. And these are the impressions that we have with each other. That is a recognition. When you get an impression, like on the so-called real side experiences, or here, because it's all here and now, okay? Realistically, there is no real side. It's all an isness. But we just use this because we're in creation, and we have the mind, and we have how it is, how it's constructed in this literal self, and reason and logic, and all these things we've created, okay? We've created all this stuff, which is fine. All of creation is fine. Good, bad, or indifference, it's all fine. As I've said many times, nothing is negated. It's all choice. That's really what it is. You see, you keep pushing away all the ideas that are on top of the ideas that have been created. All right? So it's like a building. If we create a building, we can say, oh, that's Trump Towers, or that's the White House, and it's wonderful, and it's beautiful, and it's all this stuff, and it's, it's got elevators, and it's got 10 floors. Those are all ideas on top of the building that was created, which is an idea, you see? So you keep adding ideas to it. Oh, they have law offices in there, and they have insurance companies, and oh, they have a diner down below. You got to go there, etc. See, those are ideas that you keep adding to the original idea. That's what we do in creation. And after a while, we don't recognize what we've originally created. We forget. And so, yes, it's frustrating here because very few people see through and recognize what is real. What they do is they look at the foo-foo. They look at the fronts that were created, and they think that the front is real. But none of it is alive. No, but we do need creation because that's why we're here. The only reason we're here, again, is to recognize the isness we already are. We already is. Isn't it funny? Yes, we go roundabout is what we do. We start with ourselves, and we take this big journey through all these cycles and whatever, and where do we come back to? Ourselves. We come back to ourselves. It is the isness life is. And so it's endless. And so creation plays that part. Because you might say in a way, okay, but it's not the total spectrum. It gives us something to do while we're in the endlessness of life as it is, because it helps us recognize this reality. But in the meantime, we get caught up in the ideas of creation. And this is where, people are silly. This is where, the takeover of the corporation came in. Paul brings out something as an example. Okay, we just use something as an example, etc. And then people go in there to steal it thinking that, because again, it's according to the business world that's been created. So the so-called outer and real side or inner experiences, they're really all the same. They just appear differently. It's like you can go all over the world. I mean, you can just walk 5 feet and the environment changes. You walk another 10 feet. Oh, it's different. Now you're in front of your neighbor's house. You walk another 50 feet, you're in the front of the next guy's house. The environment changes. But it's all the same planet, isn't it? And you're still here and now. It doesn't matter where you are. It's all here and now. And so, and the word control is very interesting too. Yes, we do want certain things in our personal life. But there's a bigger picture, all right? And guess what? You've wanted things in your personal life for millions of lifetimes, and you're still right here doing the same thing, still wanting things in your personal life. So is there more than just wanting things? Is there more than just controlling the environment? And we see most of the world chasing whatever it is, and today it's chasing money and prosperity and prevailing over everything. Everybody wants to be on top or be a star, and so, everybody chases this. And you've done this for lifetimes. And where do you end up? Nowhere. No, not seeing it, because it's recognition. Supersedes everything. A true and real recognition of what is. Not just talking about it. See, that goes around. I see the ideas that are shared. That's fine. You can do whatever you want. That doesn't mean people recognize it. They think they do. but they really don't. But that's fine too. Everybody makes their choice. So again, what makes sense to me is doing something that creates a demonstration and a benefit so people can wake up to recognize this reality, because that is the wholeness life already is. So yes, in the meantime, there's that 10% of us that does chase things and do things in creation, but the bigger picture is to where it becomes, it's like the old saying, less is more. But many people feel that more is more, okay, in this world. Okay, that's kind of how it works. Creation is what it is. It's just simply whatever it is and whatever it becomes. So, presenting this, yes, because of how the world is. You know, that's like, having a dirty river, alongside of your house. But all of a sudden you have a distiller or whatever. So every day you create a gallon of water that's pure and clean and whatever, and you want to clean up the river, so you throw it in the river. Okay, yeah, that's what we're doing. Is it going to clean up the river? No, not really. That's a big job. It's one little bucket a day is not going to clean up the river. And so we're doing the same thing. We're just doing what we can in creation. We're not here to clean up creation. That's not the idea. Because everything you might say, this is where it's in literal terms. You have to understand literal, as opposed to what's really going on. In other words, most of the world, because of how the world has been educated, has decided how creation is. In other words, they think creation, first of all, the distortion is people think that creation is the whole of life. And it's not, it's creation. And second of all, people have been taught to think that they know more about life than life itself. You see? So again, so you have this created consciousness that we're in that we have to deal with. And, we all live off the natural environment. It's more than obvious. It's not that hard to recognize that. That's how we grow our food. That's where everything comes from. Again, food, water, air, okay? But yet, when we present this to the world, we get all this, we get all these obstacles and this resistance. Why? It doesn't make sense, doesn't it? You know why? Because of the consciousness that's been created here. It's a dirty river. And so we've got the bucket of fresh water, and the dirty river doesn't care. We throw it at the dirty river, it disappears. It's like, gee, where is it? It's like gone. But while we got it in the bucket, it looks good. See, so our little group here looks good. But when we go out there in the world, we're dealing with the dirty river. And we're trying to warn people. We're trying to say, hey, use clean water and don't drink from the river. But they're drinking from the river. They created the river and they keep drinking from the river. And all we're trying to do is warn them. But most of the time, they're not listening. So here's the idea also. Yes, you talk about the inner and outer experiences and all this. Yes, it is frustrating because, again, creation is huge and it's endless. And people are continually creating dimensions upon dimensions upon dimensions. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with many things. But it's all an isness. I have to deal with many things too. And I've created many definitions, many, many definitions. So I can cover many, many viewpoints because of what is taking place in creation. Now, if I was one of the birds in the trees, I wouldn't have to do that because all the other birds know what they're doing. They don't need definitions. They don't have to have instructions or definitions as to what to do. They already know what to do. They simply build their nests, they chase bugs, eat them, and whatever. That's the basic life, and they chirp, and They like to sit in the sun and maybe take a little, bath in some water somewhere in the stream or something once in a while. It's just they're just living their life. But we as people on the earth, because we've created all this distortion, now we got to deal with it, and we've got to define it and redefine it, and to learn to recognize it, and in somewhere learn to find and recognize ourselves. And so when it comes to the real side experience and this side experience, you don't need any experience realistically. But the experience is a confirmation, okay, because of how misdirected and distorted things are. So it is good to have the experiences, but really it's your awareness. You don't have to go anywhere or project anywhere. I don't have to go anywhere or project anywhere or anything. I don't need any experiences because it's an isness. I recognize it. It's a recognition. I know what to do. I know what to see. Just like the birds, they know what to do. They don't need to dream. They don't need experiences. They know what to do. It's an isness. They're just going through their experience. And so we can do the same thing. There is a bigger picture, but learning to see it more so than even what I'm presenting and defining. And so, again, yes, that part is a toughie to get through because, those that want to control others are continually making sure that distortion rules the world and that people are distorted. Just like Kelsey and Val reading in the textbooks as Kelsey is finishing her degree. And, geoengineering and all these things and GMO food, hey, this is all good. These are the things of the future, and people are solid in this because they see it in the textbooks. We can't change their minds. We can say, well, that's not truth or this is truth. That's all nonsense. No. They're going to have to figure it out themselves. And maybe they never will. Maybe they'll be in creation forever. Creation just goes on and on and on and on. It's always been around. When Paul talked about the four yugas, it isn't that it just started yesterday. Okay? It's been forever that it's been here. And many of us have been through more than the four yugas. We could be through thousands of the four yugas or millions, because it doesn't matter. And it's at what point is it that the individual wakes up? It really doesn't matter. But the best part of recognizing the isness is that you can let it all go and put it over there on the shelf like a book at any time. And then you're okay. But yet still work the position. And so it's not about control. It's about recognition. And then you'll be able to do what you want. It's really not about control. It's about waking up and recognizing that, hey, you don't need restrictions anymore. And control is a restriction. This is where people think they've got to control the world. This is why the deceptors of the world are doing what they're doing, because they're afraid. They think they need to control others to survive. This is what the reptilians, this is what they consider. So they've got to destroy everything to distort everything, and this is where they're creating all the confusion in the world. That's why they created all these distorted systems, from the legal to the educational, the scientific, and all this friggin' nonsense that we really don't need. Because we can learn to see and recognize each other in the true sense. But you must decide to step into that position, you might say, and quit passing around the foo-foo, because it's not going to work. So, the difference between the inner and the so-called outer, there is no difference. It's all an isness. Creation is an isness too, but it's more than thinking it. It's doing it. And what we're doing now, those of you that have stepped up realistically, not just in your mind, this is what's taking place. This is the awareness. And this is what is referred to in the consciousness of creation right now with the isness. It's very real. I was asked to do this, and just like Paul stepped up and was asked to do it, and he decided what it was at that time. I've decided this is it. It doesn't matter what's decided. I could decide anything. I could create the corporation too and do memberships or whatever, and if I did it, it'd be fine. It would work. But I don't want to. I don't want to do it like everybody else does, simply because then everybody will just basically stay the same. They will stay passive. I already know that. I've picked the harder way to go. But realistically, as you go through it, and a certain number of you see it, and it's confirmed, and especially by Rebazar and the boys, okay? This is why I always refer to Rebazar, and that is that he's showing certain people, that he can trust. He doesn't trust everybody. Just because you do the new you doesn't mean the boys trust you. Wake up. Wake up and see yourself. There's only a few of you that I trust too. And that is that, it's time to get real. Because the boys don't trust that personal self. They see the personal self. They see you all the way through. For the most part, most people don't even trust themselves. I don't trust my personal self totally. It's fallible. It's not what it is. It's a thing that I got to drag around. It's like a car. You're driving a car, It can break down at any time. This body, this thing that I've created here is just something I have to deal with. I'm very real with it. But the real me is very focused. That's where my intent is. And I just see it as awesome to be real and wonderful, like children. Yes, but here we are, the know-it-all adults, thinking that we know something, and we really don't. And it's demonstrating and proving it to yourself. Proving, again, this is what is real now. What I'm deciding is real now. And everybody can go play with themselves as they want to, but this is what it is. And so it becomes more defined and more defined and more defined. And so we have the homeschool, we have the university, we have the Vessel Project. And those that step up, and the boys are totally focused on all of this. Totally focused. Because this is creating a runway, a freeway for people step by step to wake up to the total benefit of everything. You need to bring it together to focus. Most people are so scattered. They're so self-convinced. They can't find anything. The world is working. You see it. They get their degrees. They go get a job. Yeah, it's going to work for a while, for a few more minutes, until the atmosphere is totally poisoned. This is what they don't see. See, they're focusing on, I got my degree, or I got my career. In 2 more years, and then 3 more years, I'll get my master's, and then, I'll get this great job over here for some factory and build bombs. The world will be great, I can even work for Monsanto. Wow, this would be cool. Maybe I'll get stock in the company. Those are great ideas, aren't they? But in the meantime, the world's dying. It's not getting better, it's dying. Do you see that? No, you don't want to see that. So again, as long as the individual decides that creation is their reality, then creation is their reality. That's just it. So for us to present something out there, this isness reality is very important. Very, very important. Because it's all you got. And to recognize that, and to be able to relate that realistically and demonstrate it and step up and do something real, do it or don't. There's no in between. And if you don't decide, you've already decided to not do it. That's how real it is. That's how real life is. So if you stop breathing, you've stopped breathing. That's it. There's no in between. Or you breathe, and you have a physical body. But once you stop breathing, that's it. There's no in between, is there? You might choke a little bit in between, but that's only going to last a few moments. You'll be fine, because then you'll stop breathing, and then that's it. You'll be fine too. You're always fine, because it's your real awareness. But if you don't recognize that position, if you don't recognize that with the whole of life, then you're going to be at the mercy of what you didn't decide to do for yourself. That's the bigger picture. So, we use the ideas of the real side experiences, and yes, we see things there, and I see what's going on too. And to, just like many people see the vessel project on the real side, but getting it here is agreement. That's what it takes for anything to get done here. Again, when you look at the price of gold or the so-called value of the paper money in your pockets or the coins or anything, price of real estate, it's agreement. That's all it is. It's simply agreement. It's not control. It's not power. It's not manipulation. It's simply agreement. And just like the birds in nature, they all agree to live their life according to the natural environment. That's agreement. The fish in the sea, the birds in the sky. It's just simply agreement, isn't it? Nobody's controlling anybody. Yeah, there's little hassles once in a while because we're in a body world. We're in creation. Yeah, there's confrontation. And people get married and divorced. Those are, it's not easy here because, you know, cause and effect is also agitation. With cause and effect, there's agitation, just like hot and cold streams meet, and all of a sudden there's tornado. And just like two people with, things build up, and all of a sudden there's drama. It's a little tornado. And so we just learn to recognize what's going on in creation. We can have fun in creation. I have fun in creation, etc. But it's more than we consider. So you're so fortunate to know that I've brought out this reality, this isness. Paul hinted at it, but he didn't focus on it because he wanted to establish a particular position. And if we would have focused on the isness, people would have been in disarray. It's like, well, what is this? How do we see this? So what he did is he used the spiritual idea. But at a certain point, it became a huge restriction. And it has. It doesn't work. And the reference to spiritual and God and holy and divine and all these things, these are reptilian, just like the hue, etc. Because the is has removed itself from all this. And so, again, it's just like anything. It's just like a person in the hospital and you pull the tubes out. They're gone. That's it. They pulled the plug. And so the same with the is. It decides, okay? It doesn't, but it does, but it decides what is, because that is the isness it is. And it decided the new you for creation, for people to make a real connection to it, because everything else got infected. Again, it's like the stream out there. The stream got infected. The river got infected. People drinking from the river, it's just like where Chris lives. The water supply, it's all poisoned. And look what's happening to people. It's not working. It's not working. That's in the physical sense. It's more in the astral sense with what Joni's corporation is doing. And that is, it's more in the astral, causal, and mental, and etheric sense. It's not so much in the physical, but it is showing up in the physical constantly. It's coming down, but she's trying to dodge it every which way she can, of course. And because this world is basically marketing ploy, and people love marketing ploy, they really do. They chase it every day because it's all controlled. It's all controlled market, the stock market, everything. Everything's controlled. Even the weather's controlled. The farming, whatever, everything's controlled. It's all a control mechanism. And we have robots taking over. I mean, we're in the Terminator era, and it's going to get worse to where it's all robots. Yeah, and just like in the movies, they're giving you the prelude. But people are still walking around. It doesn't matter what happens. And people have been taught that this is a battlefield and that you're to battle and you're to arm yourself, and we've got better, armor and artillery and whatever. So again, people are grooved into the military idea that it's like this is the cool thing to do. Well, this is where we're at. You agree to that? That's fine. See all the agreement with that? We can't change people's agreement. They can only do that themselves. They can only decide differently to make better choices. We're not in control here. All we can do is present the new presentation. We are presenters. We're very real. But at the same time, learn to recognize the isness. And yes, if you have real side experiences, great, whatever. I would say don't chase them. I would recommend not to do that. I would recommend to take as much of your time and intent to recognize the isness life is, because then we won't need Skype. We won't need any of this nonsense, all this mechanical junk that's polluting the earth. We will be being to being real with each other. It's time for that because of what's taking place on the earth. It's do or die, kids. Very real. So it's an isness, it's a bigger picture, um, Charles, and thank you for asking the question. So again, I see it too. People are chasing the idea. What is it? Oh, they want to do the new you and they want to meet Rebazartars. Well, I get that. We start off with that. All right? We start off with that. But realistically, it's stepping up and being real and taking the risk. And now it's getting involved in what really provides a benefit for everybody. So as we get together and we create this agreement that makes sense with what we have to deal with, okay, so now we've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, and then millions, and then maybe even billions of people, okay, with a gallon a day at the riverside. Now we all throw the water in the river, and all of a sudden, wow, the bad stuff's gone, isn't it? Now the river's clear because we all got together and we agreed. There's the bigger picture. Sounds like a lot more fun to me. Let's be real.